Welcome to another episode of LogisticsSales.com, where today we'll be talking about how to knock your new job out of the park. So stick around and let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of LogisticsSales.com, where today we'll be discussing how to knock your new job out of the park. I'll be your host, Dee, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Damon and Gail.
Hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, looking forward to today's episode. And, we've covered a lot through this segment of navigating job opportunities. And today now you've searched for that perfect job company you want to work for, maybe the perfect job. You've done everything you had to with your resume. You got the interview and now you got the job. So now what? Gail, what do you think?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dean. And I think that this episode is arguably one of the most important ones that we're going to cover. You know, you went through the interview process, you did the application, all of that got you here. But now how do you step into that role and how do you take it to the next level and prove that you are the person that's right for that role that you just got hired for?
It's like that saying, you just talk the talk with the interview, now you got to walk the walk.
You betcha. So one of the biggest things, though, that most people are going to face with that, I have a new job, well, what do I do? Where do I go from here? Is fear and anxiety. And being able to overcome that is going to be the number one kind of contributor on how you're going to go into that new role. I mean, it's very natural. It's nerve-wracking. Change is always something that really gets the heart pumping, makes you kind of question things and have second guesses. But you have to learn how to overcome that fear and anxiety for a new role and still walk into that building with your best foot forward. And I think that's the most important part for any new job, any new position, any changes in your life, is how do you still put your best foot forward and look on it positively?
I think too, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Gail, but I think also for our viewers, change is hard. But in order to grow, change is required. But that's why a lot of people get stuck in status quo, because making that change and making that next step is difficult for a lot of people. They get comfortable. So, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's why in today's episode, we're going to be talking about these different skills and maybe steps you can take now that you've got the opportunity to shine with, your first day on the job.
Yeah, you bet. So when you have that new job, just go into it with a can-do attitude, face it head on, and just walk in there with your head held high and with a willingness to learn. And then accept that you're going to have some really, really great days, but you're also probably going to have some not so great days. It just comes with the territory. There's always going to be learning curves. Things aren't always going to go right. But if you can embrace the fact that even on your bad days, you're still putting your best foot forward, it makes the transition a whole lot easier, and it will make other people put their faith and their trust in you because they'll know that you are always going to approach things with a positive mindset. And then embrace those wins when you do have them. And don't forget to embrace those failures as well. Sometimes we will fail, especially in new roles. We're going to have lots of things to learn. We're going to have changes to overcome. So if you do fail, just take it with a grain of salt and move forward from there. Now, if I could get everyone as well, there is a worksheet along with this episode as well. So if you do want to take a look at that, you'll notice that the first two questions directly kind of correlate to this. And the first one is take a minute to reflect on your feelings. How do you feel about this new job? What emotions are you experiencing and how can they positively and negatively impact you? Having an understanding of what your emotions are like are going to be really important to assess how you're going to react to those different emotions as they come up throughout this new position.
I think too, as you're watching today's episode and you're learning these skills, you may be looking for that next job right now, and you're maybe applying these skills that you've learned to create the resume and get the interview. So I think to help too, as you're going through today's worksheet, go back to maybe your last job, because you may remember some of the emotions and some of the anxieties that you're feeling, and what did you do to address that, and how did that make you feel? And use this worksheet even as an opportunity to learn and prepare for that next one.
And then once you have an idea of some of those negative emotions that you may potentially experience in that new role, the second question is, what are some positive ways that you can deal with those negative emotions? And that's really important for having a strategy on when you're getting a little frustrated or angry or scared. How do you, as a person, as an individual, how do you navigate away from that negative emotion into something that's more positive? So take some time and reflect on that.
I think that takes us right into like the 5 steps that we're going to be teaching you today. Is 5 steps to absolutely kill your new job and do really well at the opportunity that you've just created for yourself. And we talk about when it comes to like that mindset. The mindset has to be strong from the get-go. And we talk about, where's that anxiety or nervousness really come from? Most employers are going to have a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day probation period. And so that probation period is not something where you really want to feel down about yourself, but it's like, okay, what can I do in that opportunity to really accelerate myself? How can I take that probation period and really show the company that I'm here to stay, and that you made the right choice when you picked me as someone to work with your company, and this is your opportunity to show yourself, and this is your opportunity to ask the questions that you need to ask. This is the opportunity for you to start demonstrating that who you said in the interview is the person that's going to come and deliver and show value for that company, and let them know that they just made the right choice in you. And so prepare before you start. And that's like step one here, right? Is when before you go into the workplace, visualize what you're going to be doing. What did you talk about in that interview that is going to now come into fruition when you come first day in the job? And are you going to be one of those people that are going to just sit back and wait for things to happen and wait for people to tell you what to do? Or do you want to be proactive in that situation and start making things happen in that company? Start asking people questions, start doing the meet and greet, start talking to the people around you. Find out what the company is all about. In the beginning it's all about learning and soaking it in. It's about establishing yourself and your role to make sure that you're the right person for that opportunity. So for the tips that we can give you is start understanding like what the company, how they operate, what's their policies and procedures, how do they operate their processes in that company, how do the departments interact with each other. So there's a lot of things that you could be doing to mentally prepare yourself in that role once you're first in there.
I love that first point that you made, was prep before you even start. Depending on how you got the opportunity, whether it was through a mutual acquaintance or during the time of your interview, it's that whole mindset of preparing. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And if you are able to ask questions leading into the job, it's just going to help set you up for success.
100%. So again, this is your opportunity to stop waiting and start doing. Because again, the whole getting the job part is the hard part. Now you're in there. Now it's time for you to actually walk the walk and really demonstrate that, again, we kind of go back to this, but, personally, when I have new employees show up at my place of work, I like people that are go-getters, people that don't want to sit idle and just wait for instruction, because that really drains you as an employer. And just like you have expectations of your employer at that standpoint, just understand that the employer also has expectations of you. And they're going to realize in that first probation period is how much training do you actually require? Are you able to do the things that you said that you were able to do? So there's a whole balance of you getting to know the company and the company getting to know you. And again, the differentiator is always you in that situation, because as soon as you realize that, when I step into this role, I'm the person that's going to dictate how I do in this company. I'm the one that has so much ability to dictate my growth, and you have the ability in the beginning to really set forth what you want to be doing. And last thing you want to do is jump company to company. And so if you moved from your previous company to this one, now you really want to look and say, okay, well, why did I make that switch? What do I want to do differently given the opportunity of being with a new employer now? So set the expectations out for yourself and really push forward with what you want to do.
And I think now it brings us to your worksheet too. You'll see question number 3. It's important to create a to-do list of all the things you want to do and learn before your first day. Also, you want to, maybe write down topics you want to learn more about, create a preliminary schedule for your workday, or even setting up a plan of action. So as you're putting this together, take some time after this episode to jot a lot of those things down, because that will help you even before you get into that first day. That whole prep before you start mindset. And another important skill brings us to our second one. I'm smiling right now because it's the build relationship ones. Honestly, I don't know how to get my name on here all the time, but I throughout all of this, that's all it is with whether it's sales and business, any type of success, personal, with your social friends. It's building strong relationships. And it's my probably my favorite topic to talk about. So, of course, you want to learn about the people. You want to learn about the coworkers. Your management's important, and of course, the customers. And come up with some networking strategies. You walk in the first day. Of course, you're going to be nervous. You want to make a good impression, but you also want to navigate. Maybe look around and recognize the environment you're in. And for me, I like coming into a room, especially in meetings. I use you for Damon as an example. You walk in and you could just see that there's something about this guy. What can I learn from him? And act as a sponge and absorb the knowledge and whatever skills you can, because you're gonna have tons of people like Gail, for example. I've learned so much from Gail going into prepping and understanding the customer and everything. So recognize that you're going to be surrounded with a lot of talented people within this new group, and you're going to want to get to know them. Nothing worse than walking in your first day, thinking you're a know-it-all. It's okay to be confident, but you want to know that they have a certain culture. There's a certain way that they do their business day in, day out, and you want to try and understand that pretty quickly and, show that you're a team player. Because like attracts like, and if you put out the right message that you're here to help and you just want to be another contributing factor to the team, you're going to set yourself up for success. And again, I use that saying quite often because it's so important. If you want to succeed, there's certain little things you have to do, and you have to show that you're coming from a place of service and you actually care about helping not just the customer, but other people on your team. There's nothing better than having a team working with you come to you and say, okay, what else can I do? Naturally, you're not going to do that your first day, because you're going to have to find out what the expectation is and what your day-to-day responsibilities will be. But you're going to step in with a fresh set of eyes looking at this organization, and you want to look around to the people you're working with and build those strong relationships, because they can help you succeed and just as easy help you to fail. If you come in and you're not willing to work with people, it's going to be really hard to figure out things on your own.
So when I'm listening to you, Dean, what I hear very clearly is come in with the right attitude. Make sure you're greeting people with a smile. Just be genuine yourself. That level of service that you're talking about. But yeah, number one is definitely come in with the right attitude. Secondly is come in with the service mindset. Be clear about your intentions of what you want, what you're there to do. And maybe number three could be also go after the experience. Who's there to give you that experience? Who can you go to elevate yourself to a higher level?
And I'd actually like to add a fourth one as well. And it's just remember that we're all human. You want to go into an organization, whether you're going in at an executive level or if you're going in as like a employee, coworker to coworker level, you still want to have that human element. You want to build real strong relationships, not surface level. So even just, using a couple minutes throughout the day to ask questions about who that person is, on the inside, outside of their work life, do they have families? Do they have kids? What are their hobbies? Stuff like that. Just make sure, my little warning for you on that one is make sure you're not cutting into actual work time. These are great opportunities for, the water cooler or your lunch break, but make sure you still try and add that human element, because that's what's going to build connections that are really strong and have a good foundation.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to learn the company's culture. You can ask that during your interview. What is the culture of the company like? Granted, everyone's going to bring their best foot forward, even during the interview. When you ask that question, you're going to learn real quick what the company culture is all about. And it's important to make sure that it aligns with your own personal beliefs, and you're working with other like-minded people, which is very important. And when you're working with those individuals, you want to make sure you're seeking feedback. You want to make sure you're doing what is asked of you, and you want to be prepared to maybe face some criticism. You might make a mistake, but that's the only way you're going to learn. So take everything, like Gail was saying, with a grain of salt, and just go in, give it all you got, knowing that you're there to make your contribution to the company and make that company successful.
Yeah. And for question number 4 on your worksheet, you'll actually have a section there where you can go through and start building out some strategies for yourself on how you're going to work on building those relationships inside the workplace. Ones that are mutually beneficial in the way where you're going to be able to gain experience, knowledge, and expertise from the people that you are building relationships with. Now, this sets us into number 3 for the how to really kill it at your new job, which is identifying and setting clear expectations or goals. In a lot of organizations, they typically will have some sort of metric or KPI, which stands for key performance indicator. And what this means is it is a set list or target goal for you to achieve inside that role. Now, because a lot of organizations do have it, it is really important to make sure that you understand what the goals are already set out by that company for you as you enter into that new role. I mean, you can't go into a new job and have no idea of what you're expected to do. You need to know what the expectations are. So having a clear outline of what you're trying to achieve is extremely important for continuing on and making sure that you're not just meeting the organization's goals, but that you're able to exceed them and start to build on your own personal goals. The other thing that I recommend everybody do, especially if you're going into this, even on an entry level, but definitely on an executive level, is to set personal goals. Look at them and decide, okay, what are these SMART goals that I can set that are going to not just lead me to achieving my organizational expectations, but also to lead me towards my personal growth and my personal goals. And we talked about SMART goals in previous episodes, but these are outlining specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time goals that are going to give you an outline of what you need to do and how you're going to get there.
But that's a great point, Gail. When it comes to setting goals, it's very important that people set goals to differentiate themselves from a lot of other people that would be competing for the same type of role. If you have a career mindset and a career growth path that you want to follow, it's important. This is an opportunity where you have mentors and people management in the company that if they see and recognize that, they'll be able to accelerate your growth. And it really helps someone mold you into the place that you want to really go towards. And you can contrast it with someone that comes into an organization without having goals in mind. And if they don't have that growth mindset, now they're just sitting back and allowing people to dictate their role in what that company is going to be. So here's an opportunity where you can create your own path versus having a path already laid out for you. So, it's the people that set the intentions are the ones that are going to start differentiating themselves from everybody else and hitting those higher levels in life.
And I would say that when you start setting those intentions, it actually holds you accountable because you've put it on paper. You've said, I'm going to achieve A, B, and C. And once it's on paper, it becomes much more tangible. It becomes real. So put them down and figure out what do you want to achieve in this new job, in this new role. What you'll actually find on your worksheet in question number 5 is an area for you to actually start writing down some of your own SMART goals. Now, you may not want to do this right now if you are still learning about what your position or role is going to be like. You might want to wait till after your first day or even your first week. But make sure you write them down. Have an idea of, outside of what they expect from you, what do you expect from yourself?
And that has to come when you have expectations on yourselves. It has to be something that you truly want to go after. It's nice to write something down and just have it there, but if you really want to go after it, remember every day you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you want to know that you gave it everything you got to achieve A, B, and C. Otherwise, it's not even worth putting it down. So you're trying to nail that, that new job, and really you're doing it to help them, but you also want to help yourself by showing that you're all in for yourself. Of course, you want the company to know that you've got this roadmap for success and they'll help you get there. But you need to believe in yourself to pursue that roadmap to succeed.
Dean, I've seen this so many times where, and this is why we emphasize why this is so important, is like I've seen people when I first started into the workforce and I went into entry-level jobs, I saw people at entry-level jobs earning minimum wage that were sitting there for 5, sometimes 10, sometimes 20 years. And I was baffled, and I'm like, is this really what you pictured yourself in an entry-level position for the next 20 years of your life? And this is why this, doing this type of work becomes so much more important, because your opportunities are self-created a lot of times. It starts with that mindset that we have and we operate with. But these are the great tips. I'm hoping everyone's kind of taking note. Let's step into number 4, which is, using observation and feedback to improve your opportunities at work, improve your job and role that you're going to be in. And so that observation we've kind of mentioned a couple times is, what can we notice in our environment that we can leverage to our benefit and also to the company's benefit. Who can we, sometimes what we're observing is sometimes like our own role, right? So the first one is just, what are we there to do? How can we do our role efficiently enough? And where are the gaps within our own role that we could become a better individual for this company? So start with yourself first. Once you start with yourself, then you can start moving on to maybe different departments. Start learning about the organization and see, okay, hey, what is my role in importance to the organizations and departments that are around me? And so now the observation kind of goes outside of me to say, okay, well, who can I get information from? We talked about those relationships. So observation can even be within the people that are around us, not even the processes.
I would just add as well that it's really important to have an understanding. Once you know what you're doing, what are the people around you doing? Because the decisions that you make and the work that you do oftentimes can have a trickle down effect and impacts other people in their department. So if you understand how the interactions work, it will help you make smart decisions and not just go, willy-nilly changing things and being like, this is going to work easier for me. Sometimes there are trickle effects that happen. Yeah. So if you understand the entire thing as a whole, it'll help you make smart decisions that will not just benefit you or your department, but all of the organization as a whole.
And I think what's key with that too is if you know what that other individual is doing, especially if it's something that you're working on that maybe the next step goes to you. If you understand what they're doing, there might be something you could do within your step that's going to make their life easier. So guess what? That catapults you up to, not just a person trying to get their job done, but also making your job easier. So again, it's just setting you up for success.
That's what we're using the observation for, right? We're using the observation to see, can we get enough feedback from that observation to start improving, and improving for everybody. Sometimes you walk into organizations and you see a lot of people in their individual silos. And you're like, okay, you know what? Everyone's kind of working individually here. Do I want to be stuck as an individual, or do I want to become that team player? For me, it's always, can I get into a team player role? Can I excite the entire office? Can I create the company culture that I really want in a job opportunity? How can I create the best work environment for myself and the people around me? Do I want to go into work feeling really good and energize the people around me? And this is a great opportunity for you to show your value to somebody. If you can start, being in observation and seeing, where are the gaps in anyone's department? Can I help my coworkers? How can I do that from my department? Man, things are just going to change. The energy levels change, and the way that you're operating, you start vibrating at this higher level that these new opportunities just start pouring into you. Yeah. And you know what? You're the person that everybody wants to work with because you understand them.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, when you come in with that attitude and that energy, even if it's not intentional, you start to paint yourself as part of being a leader, being able to come in and be the person that people want to work with, the people that people want to collaborate with, because they know that you have good ideas and that you have good energy behind it and good intentions behind it, that the whole point is just to make their lives easier, to make your life easier, to make the company better as a whole. And so when you start, like David said, vibrating on that wavelength, it does trickle down to the people next to you and the people who are working with you.
Yeah, you took the leadership word right out of my mouth, because starting day one, that part of how you carry yourself can make you a leader. You could come in positive with this zest for life that's infectious and people want to be around you, like Damon was saying, and or the opposite, when you get stuck in that situation where an employer, there's some employers out there that pay their employees just enough so they won't quit, and in turn the employee works just hard enough not to get fired, so it doesn't create the greatest environment. But if you come in this new environment, you're excited, you're positive, and you're there to help. Again, that's that whole like attracts like. People want to gravitate towards that. And when those people gravitate towards you and they've been with the company longer, guess what? You're only going to learn more from them. So it's a win-win.
And just being a new employee, how do you do this? It's you have to really relate back to whether it's your school experiences and you've done maybe team projects in school, whether it's from your previous experiences at working at different organizations. What did you learn there that worked really well that you can bring into a place that you're working at now? So look at patterns and try to recognize some of those processes that you've previously seen in your life and see how you can bring those into the future. Another way to do that also is ask for feedback from your manager or the person that's training you. you ask for that insight. Try to find out, hey, what am I doing well? Where can I really improve? What opportunities are there for me here beyond what I'm actually doing? Is there something I could do to help out other people within, the office? And, Dean and Gail, you guys have been great when you walk into any employment place. And the first thing you guys say is, who else can I help? And it just comes out naturally. You're not even looking to get paid for it. You're not looking to gain anything from it, but you're just out of sincerity, just always looking to help other people. And I'm glad I get to work with you guys in this project as well.
Well, thanks, Damien. That means a lot. You just filled my bucket, and I'm blessed to be able to share this opportunity with the both of you. So I do want to touch on the one point you just raised, though, is in discussing and seeking feedback from your hiring manager, because 9 times out of 10, as you go through the hiring process, you may be, you'll come into the conference room and you might have someone from HR there, and then you've got this the other individual who might share the interview depending on what the format's set up. But 9 times out of 10, the one answering the questions is going to be the one who you're going to be reporting to, because it's them looking to add to their team. And when you're going through that process, they're going to have a certain expectation already of the role that they're trying to fill, because maybe somebody had left, or they've got this new project and they need somebody with the skills and experience you put down on your resume. And then when you get in there day one and you start doing everything, there may be even a few things that were touched on during the interview. And, now you're a few weeks in, you're starting to feel comfortable, and you're in a place where you think this is something you're going to enjoy, and it's, that you think that they're enjoying you. There may be some of those things that you have missed because you're so focused on a couple other steps. And by asking that feedback, they'll remind you that, I missed that, or I forgot about that. And it gives you a chance to learn and show that you can adapt and, of course, overcome, which is super important.
Yeah, and I like how you say learning. I mean, learning is another important piece of this as well, where you do want to take time to learn their industry. Learn the industry that you're in. Look at the opportunities that lie within that industry. Whenever you are researching the industry, look for what the trends are going in that industry as well. That way, you really want to have, when you're conversing with coworkers or conversing with management, come from a place of knowledge and wisdom. And this is how you're going to gain that wisdom, is by learning what's happening in the industry today. What are the current trends that are maybe trending? How can I participate in different training programs or even mentorship programs that the company has to offer, and soak that knowledge in. So again, you can use all this information to improve in the future.
And I think before we move on to the next step, we bring up on your worksheet question number 6, which is to identify 2 specific ways you can actively seek and utilize constructive feedback in your new role. So again, if you're not in that new role yet, you're going back to maybe an existing role or a past one, use this again as the opportunity to look back and what you did, what on any feedback that you were given, even if it was outside of the workplace. When someone tells you something that you can improve on, I think important to recognize what your reaction is too, because some people might back away a little bit, or they initially get their defenses up because they're saying that there's something you can improve upon. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. They're just trying to help you get better or get to that next step, especially a good mentor, a good leader.
And this is that action step that's needed, right? So this is your opportunity to put things into action. Don't always sit back and wait for things to happen in life. If you set the intention, now you can make it actionable. And that's what the kind of the worksheet is for, is what are those 2 steps that you're going to take and actually implement and start doing right away to, again, for your own growth journey.
And I would just say that feedback is so important, but it's not always freely given. You sometimes do have to ask for it. You have to be able to approach your hiring manager, your coworkers, your HR manager, whoever it is, and say, hey, how have I been doing? What can I be doing better? Because if you don't ask, you may never get told what you could be improving on. So definitely figure out at least 2, how are you going to ask for that feedback?
Yeah, that's a great point. And it goes back to the whole relationship, because again, a lot of people don't know who you are just yet. So when you show that you're not just even willing to ask the questions, but you're also willing to learn, shows that you're very humble and somebody that they could work with, which is going to help you in the long run. Which brings me to my next point, which is always maintain a positive mindset. It's very important. I go back to my old alma mater, which has kind of helped me throughout my entire life. At high school, it was struggle and emerge and never lose heart. when you're going through the struggles, you're learning. So when it's a new job, not necessarily a struggle, but it's going to take work to hone the skills you need to succeed and help that organization succeed. And in doing so, you want to make sure you stay positive, understanding that you're not going to be perfect your first day. In fact, you're never going to be perfect, and you're going to make mistakes. What's important when you make those mistakes is you learn from them. And if they're expected perfection, if you're not a cardiologist, excuse me, obviously, if you're a cardiologist, you're not going to want to make too many mistakes when you're operating on somebody's heart. But when you go into a new job, understand they're not going to expect you to ever be perfect. But as long as you're learning from a mistake, and actually you were brave enough to actually do something to try and maybe get the job done, and it didn't work out, at least you're willing to try. Not, again, understanding once you're there with, knowing what the culture is like and what your roles, your role is and your responsibilities, you want to, forego those. But again, just go in with a positive mindset, and that's that whole infectious quality about yourself that will kind of leak into others and help build a really nice environment to work in, because you can contribute to that. And just remember, it's okay to fail. I use opportunities where, I make a mistake as a learning opportunity, and those are huge.
I think failure is a part of being human. We're not robots. We are never going to be 100% perfect. Even, Dean used the example of a cardiologist. Yes, obviously, we do not want cardiologists to be making mistakes left, right, and center. But do they still make mistakes? Of course. It's just part of human nature. Every single person in this world will face issues or failures or things that they thought they could have done better in their lives. It's how you move forward from it. So just keep that positive mindset. One of my favorite quotes, because Dean shared his, so I'll share mine, is Veni Vidi Vici, which is I came, I saw, I conquered. I believe for going into a new job, you should do the same thing. You come to the new job, you see what's going on, you see what can be improved, and then you knock it right out of the park.
I think a lot of this has to do with resiliency, is how quick can you fail and get back up on your feet to start moving forward. I mean, the probation period is for this, because you do have people in place, and don't put that pressure on yourself. There's people that are there to make sure that you do well, and so for you to experiment and do everything that you can and be okay with any mistakes that happen, because that's the opportunity that you have in the beginning, is to be able to make those things. So fail early so that you can have those long-term results, and you do want perfection in the long term. And that's keeping that positive mindset and saying, hey, you know what, let me just get the jitters out. Maybe it's just I'm on a learning curve here, let me learn quickly, but let me get past it. And that's the mindset, not to let anything hold you back. Right. And understand that, hey, it's how well I bounce back from this versus how do I stay stuck in something like this, right? You don't want to get stuck. And this is the thing that we always want to encourage, is always push forward.
And it's so ironic. It's how appropriate right now that we're talking about this, because, there's a lot of things that I've applied through my professional life through sports. And right now with the Olympics going on, you have all these Olympians that train every day and become a master of their craft, and sometimes make mistakes. And it's how quick, you said, like, you dust yourself off and get back up. And right away I thought of the story that I just saw the other day with an athlete that was out on the track running with a bunch of other athletes who all put everything they had into their skill and their ability to run this race. And even though everyone else ran the best race they could, this individual fell. And right away got back up and dusted themselves off, and was still competing against people that hadn't made a mistake in the race or given everything that they had to win, and still managed to get up and start running right away and eventually run their tail off and win that race. So again, it's just believing in yourself, knowing that it's okay to make mistakes. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to get back up. I'm going to get back in and give it everything I got. And look what the result happens in that case. And it'll happen with you too when you do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is a really good opportunity for you to do some self-reflection on, maybe things that you've overcome in your own life, and figure out how you can utilize that in your new role. So that's where question number 7 is just for you, where you can describe a recent or potential challenge that you might have faced in your new role. How will maintaining a positive mindset and learning from any mistake help you overcome this challenge and reinforce your confidence? So take some time and reflect. What are the potential things that may go wrong? What are the areas you might struggle with? And how are you going to overcome it. This will be a great exercise for you to be prepared when those situations arise, and also as a guidance for when situations you might not have been prepared for come up as well. Which is going to lead me right into our final point of this evening, and it's kind of just a sub note here as well, but I wanted to mention that when you start a new company, you typically are going to get a probationary period. It's normally about 3 months in most organizations, and that's for the company to go through and assess your skills. Can you deliver on the things that you promised in your interview? But I think most people forget to realize that it's also a probationary period for the company for you. You get to actually go into that organization and see if all of the things that they promised in the interview or in the offer that they made you are matching with what was promised. And now I say that with a huge grain of salt as well. You always want to make sure that you go into an organization with a positive mindset, with a determination to do the best you can in that role, and with an openness and a willingness to learn. Don't go into it saying, I don't know if this is the right company on day one, but take time and really analyze it, because there are situations where the role or the organization may have felt like it was a perfect fit in the interview, and then when you're sitting there, something's not quite right. And so you do have that ability to assess that company in those first 3 months and figure out, is it the right fit for you? Is it the right opportunity for what you are looking for in your personal career, in your personal growth? Or is it something that maybe isn't just quite the right fit? So that would be my recommendation for everyone, is to remember that you can also do a bit of an analyze of the company as well and see if it is the right fit for you.
And worst case scenario, if it's not the perfect fit, guess what? You get to go right back to the start line where we went through looking for the company, creating the resume to meet those needs, killing the interview, and then going in and mastering the next opportunity. So it's never a dead end. There's always an opportunity for growth. And this has been a great episode talking about all the different things that have gone into getting you to this point. So before I close out, any final points or thoughts that you had, David?
Yeah, definitely. I think the example that you just gave about this is your opportunity and you can start over as many times as you want. And the thing that you realize throughout this opportunity is that everything is in your own control again, right? Is always learning that, this is for you to figure out what you want to do in life. And it's the exact pattern of how to accelerate your potential growth pattern. You don't want to be stuck in life. And as soon as you realize that everything's always been in your own hand to make the choices and decisions and to get the life that you want, this is a beautiful example of that, of how you follow the steps, and you can repeat them as many times as you want. But if you repeat them, it's probably going to accelerate your growth even further, because you're taking the time to be to set the intention of your life.
Yeah. I would just say that you're the author of your own story. You get to make the choices and get to look back on them later in life, and hopefully you'll be proud of them. So, go into that new job with everything you've got, give it your all, and you'll be able to look back onto yourself when you're older and say how proud you are of how hard you work, the things you accomplish, and everything you were able to achieve.
Yeah, I love it. And also to believe in yourself, just like we believe in you and we're here for you. So keep those comments coming. If there's questions you have, we're always here to help answer to them. And our next episode is going to be our last one on navigating job opportunities. And we're going to be talking about there's more out there than just a job. So until then, take these skills, go over them and master them, and go into your next opportunity and do the best job you can and watch what happens. But again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
And congratulations on your new job.